Welcome to for H-Solve Crime. In today's video, get ready for high speed, through intense police chases that showcase the courage. The following contains graphic content that may be disturbing to some viewers. Discretion is advised.
Compared to having your mouth taped shut. In the case of Franklyn Williams, a suspect facing multiple charges, including armed robbery and kidnapping in Cleveland, Ohio. Williams had previously pleaded guilty to some of the charges, but later withdrew his plea and claimed he was not properly informed about his eligibility for parole. He also cut off his ankle bracelet and fled the state, only to be captured in Nebraska. Williams claimed he had lost his memory after being hit on the head.
Yes, sir. I was hit in the head, and I didn't receive no medical treatment. I lost my mind. I lost my memory. I don't even remember me going to a trial.
During his trial and sentencing hearings, Williams repeatedly interrupted Judge John Russo.
I'm going to hear from your lawyers, and that means zip it.
But you're not letting me tell
That
you
means
what's going on.
zip it right now.
You trying to...
Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't.
Prosecutors and his lawyers, despite being warned to remain silent.
So listen, you will get a chance to talk. I'm going to gag you in 1 second.
He accused Judge Russo of being biased and unfair, and claimed he was being mistreated by the court system. His constant outbursts led Judge Russo to order his mouth to be taped shut with red duct tape by the deputies in the courtroom.
A chance to speak it, sentence.
Take me off.
No, I'd like you to speak.
Mr. Williams, I want to make it real clear. If you spit on, attempt to bite, or injure any of my deputies, you're going to have a bad day.
None of that.
Oh, you
Put
clear.
the tape on me, man. We done with this shit. It is what it is.
We'll go back on the record. Mr. Williams will have a chance to speak.
And I'll be monitoring everything I say.
Go ahead.
Williams was later sentenced to 33 years in prison by Judge Patricia Cosgrove, who pointed out that Williams already had a long record and now was being convicted of robbing innocent citizens.
I want the world to know I am not an animal. Contrary to what people may think, I am a man. Saying freedom of speech, no duct tape. Your Honor, I ask today, Your Honor, that I receive the lightest sentence that you can give me.
No, you're not an animal, Mr. Williams. You're a human being. But the question the court has to determine is whether or not you've learned from those mistakes.
Williams did not cause any trouble during his second sentencing and only said freedom of speech, no duct tape, before being led out of the courtroom.
Freedom of speech, no duct tape. Freedom of speech, no duct tape. With the hashtag.
Judge John Russo later apologized for gagging Williams.
I apologize for taking that action last week.
Williams' gagging was truly an unexpected courtroom moment. This is Gregory Wright, a suspect in an armed robbery in Detroit, Michigan. On June 28, 1995, 22-year-old Wright robbed Gregory Grison at gunpoint and escaped with his car. While fleeing from authorities, Wright slammed into a police cruiser and fired shots, hitting an officer in the arm. A day later, on June 29th, Wright was arrested.
All I got to say is I have no remorse for shooting that police officer. He got what he deserved. If I had the opportunity to kill him, I'd kill him.
Now in court, he's facing charges of armed robbery, carrying a concealed weapon, and use of a firearm during a felony. Wright was presented at court for a pretrial bond hearing. Judge Izetta Bright granted a bond in the amount of $50,000. Hearing this, Wright made a run for it. Seven officers finally managed to subdue Wright. After the scuffle, Judge Bright removed the bond and ordered Wright to remain in custody. The case eventually went to trial and Wright was sentenced to life in prison. Wright's brazen attempt to escape was a shocking courtroom moment, but how does it compare to slitting your own throat?
Stop recording.
Like in the case of Aubrey Trail, a murder suspect in Lincoln, Nebraska. Trail was 52 when he murdered Sidney Loof with the help of an accomplice. According to reports, Bailey Boswell, Trail's real-life partner, met 24-year-old Loof on Tinder and lured her to their apartment. It was reported that at their residence, Trail and Boswell engaged in a violent act against Loof, involving the use of an extension cord, and later took disturbing actions with her remains using tools they had acquired from a home improvement store. They wrapped her remains in garbage bags and dumped them along a rural road. Loof's family reported her missing the next day after she failed to show up for work. Trail and Boswell fled the state and posted several videos on social media denying any involvement in Loof's disappearance.
Just curious, are we not allowed to tell our side of this? Again, I'm just a criminal, so you're going to believe none of this, and I guess it's really irrelevant. We have apparently murdered this lady. I'm a thief, but I mean, goddamn, I've never killed anyone in my life. I've never hurt a female in my life. So take that for whatever the hell it's worth.
They were arrested in Missouri on November 30th, 2017, charged with first-degree murder and improper disposal of human remains. During interrogation, Trail said that Loof's death was an accident.
There was lots of violent sex involved. There was strangulation involved. It was not supposed to go as far as it did, but it did. Well, I you don't know what you're talking about. You don't remember why you bought things. You don't remember why you were going places. She was laid as she was because we believe in that position, and because of what's missing from her, that she will come back quicker.
Trail pleaded not guilty to the murder charges, but accepted the charges of improper disposal of human remains. During his trial, Trail attempted to take his own life in front of the judge and the jury by slashing his throat with a razor blade he had smuggled into the courtroom.
Stop recording.
He went on to make a full recovery and was later found guilty of all charges. On June 9th, 2021, Aubrey Trail was sentenced to death by lethal injection. He's currently on death row at the Nebraska Reception and Treatment Center. Trail's shocking attempt to end his own life sent shivers through the courtroom. But how does it compare to jumping off the courthouse balcony? Like in the case of Christopher Clay Rudd, a suspect facing drug charges in Spanish Fork, Utah. Rudd was arrested and presented in court on May 4th, 2018. Failing to follow through on court-ordered treatment. A handcuffed Rudd suddenly ran out of the courtroom and jumped over a second-floor railing, falling about 20 feet to the ground below. He survived the fall but suffered serious injuries, including a broken leg, a fractured pelvis, and a skull fracture. Rudd was taken to a hospital for treatment and later returned to the court, where he faced additional charges for trying to escape. The motive behind his dramatic leap is unclear, but some speculate that he may have been trying to injure himself to avoid going to jail. Christopher Clay Rudd's leap of faith was truly a dramatic courtroom moment. But how does it compare to attacking your own lawyer, like in the case of Taylor Schabusiness, a murder suspect in Wisconsin? 25-year-old Schabusiness engaged in a violent incident with 24-year-old Shad Deleon during a drug-influenced encounter. According to reports, Shad faced severe harm involving the use of a metal chain, resulting in tragic consequences in his mother's basement. Schabusiness left behind disturbing evidence, including a severed head in a bucket and various body parts distributed among storage containers.
Okay. Hold on. Just...
You mentioned observing the bucket. I guess where in the basement was that located?
As you go down the stairs, if you turn to the immediate right, it was at the bottom of the stairs to the right.
Was it in pretty close proximity to the stairs?
Yes.
After you made that observation, what did you do?
After I pulled the towel off?
Yes.
I had Officer Plunky come downstairs and just verify we had in fact found a human head in the bucket.
Shad's mother stumbled upon the shocking discovery of her son's lifeless head. Schabusiness confessed to engaging in disturbing activities with Shad's lifeless body for an extended period after the incident.
But when did you start, cutting up his body?
I don't know, like almost right away. I was sucking and cutting at the same time. You know what I mean? Because, I don't know.
But you liked it?
I liked it.
She was arrested and charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilation of a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. During a court appearance, Schabusiness shockingly attacked her own lawyer.
Stop it. Stop it.
Ma'am, stop. Just stop.
She had to be pacified by two court officers. Given her actions in court, Schabusiness was seen wearing a spit hood in her next appearance. Shad's uncle, Kelly Therion, slammed Schabusiness, telling her there's no excuse for her cowardly actions. Kelly said he wished death in prison for Schabusiness and hoped she would meet the same fate as her idol, Jeffrey Dahmer.
I will pray that you meet the same fate as your idolistic Jeffrey Dahmer.
Michael Therion, Shad's father, said he forgave Schabusiness for what she did to his son and hoped she would use her time in prison to become a better person.
Taylor, I just wanted to say that I forgive you for what you done to my son. And, yeah, you made a bad choice, and now you have to live with it.
He asked Judge Thomas Walsh to allow her to see the streets soon.
And I'm going to ask the judge if he can, if she can see the streets again sometime, It may not be soon, but I believe everybody makes bad choices, and maybe not to this scale, but I think there's a lot of hope for you.
Judge Walsh said that this crime offends human decency.
This crime offends human decency, it offends human dignity, and it offends the human community. It really does.
Taylor Schabusiness was later found guilty on all counts and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
The first-degree intentional homicide as a repeater, it's a Class A felony, going to impose life imprisonment without the possibility of extended supervision. I believe that's appropriate in light of the findings that I've already made.
Taylor Schabusiness's trial was filled with blood-chilling moments, but how does it compare to a judge being dragged out of court? Like in the case of Judge Tracie Hunter, who was accused of multiple felony charges in Hamilton County, Ohio.
Investigation that they're doing. And again, I'm at the point to say, go ahead and indict me. And, the whole juvenile court will just be on trial.
According to reports, in 2014, Hunter used her position as a juvenile court judge to backdate documents and mishandle confidential records to help her brother, who worked as a juvenile court employee. She was convicted and sentenced to 6 months in jail. However, she appealed her conviction and sentence and remained free while the case went through various courts. In 2019, Hunter's last appeal was denied by Judge Patrick Dinklager.
The interests of the state and the public in the finality and enforcement of judgments supports the denial of stay of pending appeal. Accordingly, the motion for stay pending appeal is denied. That's by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Judge Dinklager upheld Hunter's previous conviction and sentenced her to 6 months in jail.
Here you are to do 6 months in the Hamilton County Justice Center, credit 1 day.
Chaos ensued in the courtroom as Hunter's supporters protested her sentencing. Hunter refused to cooperate and had to be dragged out of the courtroom by a deputy. Hunter was released after serving less than 3 months in jail due to overcrowding and good behavior. She, however, lost her law license. She also filed a federal lawsuit against the county and the state, alleging civil rights violations and seeking damages. Her case is still pending as of 2023. Tracie Hunter's fall from grace was truly a shocking courtroom moment, but how does it compare to lashing out at victims' families, like in the case of Andrew Wirth, a double murder suspect in Jefferson, Wisconsin? On December 6, 2009, Wirth shot and killed off-duty police officer Jennifer Lewick and her boyfriend Greg Peters outside a bar. According to reports, it all started when Lewick grabbed Wirth behind on the dance floor. Wirth said something to Lewick, and Peter came to her defense and confronted Wirth outside the bar. Wirth claimed he acted in self-defense, saying he saw Greg reach for a gun. Witness Scott Trader said that Lewick initially survived and stumbled into the bar asking for help. When Trader got outside, he saw Wirth pointing a gun at Greg's head and yelling at him. Wirth walked away, and Greg struggled inside.
He yelled, call 911, he's got a gun. And then she was standing there for a few minutes and then collapsed. And nobody had even known that she was shot at that point.
Wirth was soon arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. Bail was set at $1 million cash. That's when Wirth's emotions broke loose, and he leapt forward towards the victims' families. He had to be pacified by several court officers. Police Chief Jim Wallace was right next to Lewick's family when this happened. Wirth was later acquitted on 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and convicted on 2 counts of homicide by negligent handling of a dangerous weapon. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Andrew Wirth's outburst shocked everyone in court, but how does it compare to being tased in court, like in the case of Kenneth Freeman, a murder suspect in Milwaukee, Wisconsin? In 2019, Freeman murdered nurse practitioner Carly Bodine in a parking garage. According to reports, he allegedly beat her, dragged her to her car, and drove over her several times. He was arrested and charged with first-degree intentional homicide. During his court hearing, Freeman became unruly and started using profanity and insults towards the judge, the prosecutors, and the victims.
I do have reason to believe that competency is an issue in this case.
Well, I was going to say. Family. He refused to listen to the judge's orders and continued his rant.
Case.
Well, I was going to say.
The judge then ordered the deputies to use a stun gun on him to stop his behavior. Freeman was ordered to stay in a state mental institution after a doctor's report found him competent for trial. Later, in 2020, Freeman was ordered to be committed for life in the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. He was found not guilty because of a mental disease or defect. The tasing of Kenneth Freeman was a hair-raising courtroom moment, but how does it compare to an all-out brawl between the families of the victim and the defendant? Like in the case of Frank Deleon Jr., a murder suspect in Houston, Texas. Deleon was 19 when he shot and killed his ex-girlfriend, Diamond Alvarez. According to reports, he shot 16-year-old Alvarez 22 times in the chest and left her body in a field after she confronted him about his other relationship. Deleon was arrested and charged with first-degree intentional homicide. During the hearing, tensions ran high between the two families. First, Alvarez's mother tried to confront Deleon. Then Alvarez's uncle jumped in and punched Deleon. Then Deleon's mom ran over to defend her son. Deleon pleaded guilty and accepted a plea deal for a 45-year sentence. He will have to serve at least half of his sentence before he's eligible for parole. DA Kim Ogg said that this case was solved within 2 years, which is a record as far as homicide cases go. After the brawl, Alvarez's mother apologized and said she couldn't control her emotions.
Diamond's mother telling us it was a difficult decision to make.
Hard, because I want it to be for her to the end.
The brawl also led to the escape of another defendant in a separate case, who took advantage of the chaos and ran away from the court.
He got out of the building, he took off his ankle monitor.
The fight between two families is truly one of the most shocking courtroom moments. But how does it compare to jumping out of a wheelchair and escaping? Like the case of Joel Sanchez Delgado, who's accused of multiple crimes in Little Rock, Arkansas. Delgado was in jail facing burglary and possession of a firearm charges. He told police that he wasn't feeling well and couldn't feel his legs. While being transported to the court, Delgado jumped off his wheelchair, caught a cab, and made a run for it. The officer ran after him, but Delgado gave him the slip. A few hours later, Delgado was caught from the other side of town and charged with felony escape, once again in a wheelchair. Delgado's daring escape is one of the most ridiculous courtroom moments.